We are so back. Welcome to more body horror in kids media. 2 months after the first one came out, which popped off, by the way, so thank you for that. We're just gonna get right into it, because I know you don't want to hear me yap for too long in the intro. Let's start with the red spot. I'm assuming you probably know what... Lord have mercy. I'm assuming you probably know what scary stories to tell in the dark is if you've been to public school, because they had it in the school library. Although, let's be honest, I don't think a lot of us actually really read the books. We kind of just got the books to look at the pictures. That was like the whole appeal to these books, the horrifying illustrations, and it's what everyone remembers the most. Also, the movie adaptation is pretty damn good. They hit the nail right on the head with the designs and practical effects. It's so damn cool seeing how accurate they brought these illustrations to life for the movie, and watching it takes you back to elementary school when you were when you were looking at the illustrations in these books in the school library. Now, just because I didn't read most of the stories doesn't mean I didn't read any of them. There is one I remember reading very vividly. The red spot. Oh, yep, that one on screen right there. Yep, no warning at all. Arachnophobes, how you doing? I'm gonna put the scene from the movie on the screen while I talk about the story. So basically, while this girl is sleeping, she gets bit by a spider on her cheek, and she wakes up and notices there's a red spot. And then she's like, ew, this thing's fucking ugly on my face. And the mom's like, oh, it's okay, it's probably just a spider bite, it'll go away, just don't scratch it. Well, it doesn't go away. As a matter of fact, in a few days, the boil is so massive that the mom's like, alright, maybe we should have the doctor look at it, but the doctor couldn't see Ruth until the next day. That night, Ruth decides to take a nice hot bath, and then the boil bursts, and a bunch of tiny spiders crawl out of the red spot on her cheek. Not only did she have a spider bite, but the spider laid eggs in her cheek, making it the perfect body horror in kids media. Ah, he said the thing, let's go! Henry Danger was a weird ass show, because it was run by Dan Schneider, so who's surprised? I liked Henry Danger though. It was one of my go-to Nickelodeon sitcoms. That being said, there were definitely a lot of what the f moments. One of these WTF moments is related to body horror, and I completely forgot it happened in the show. And thanks to this comment on the first body horror video, hold on, I gotta find the screenshot, give me a second. Okay, yeah, here it is. Thanks to commenter Important Life for reminding me of this moment in the show. Hello. They say, another one that kind of scared me when it first came out was Henry Danger Season 4, Episode 14, when the teleporter messed up and transformed them into a disgusting thing. Yes, now I remember. I must revisit this moment in the show for myself. And also, I need a clip for the YouTube video, obviously. So I find a pirated episode on Dailymotion. In case you were wondering, yes, it is 360p. Can you tell? When Ray runs into an ex-girlfriend, he tries to impress her by pretending that Henry, Charlotte, and Jasper are his children. I'm not gonna do a rundown of the entire episode, because I don't care, and quite frankly, I don't think you do either. That's not what you're here for. We're here for the body horror that comes at the end of this episode. All you need to know is that there's a teleportation device involved, but it cannot teleport 2 people at a time, and these people ignore that rule, so when they try to use the machine to teleport themselves, they get turned into a blob creature thing, kind of like at the end of that one SpongeBob episode. By far the funniest part of this moment right here is when they don't know what to do with the human blob, so they just drop it off at a synagogue. The grossest part about it though is the sounds and shit that they make. Like, their fused bodies just sound squishy and slimy and like, ugh, it's just gross.
Do you know how to separate them? You know, turn them back into 2 normal people? Do I? No.
And they're making all these distorted faces and stuff like that. It kind of looks like a David Firth animation. It's definitely a moment in the show. That's for sure. And I completely forgot about it, so thank you, Important Life, for reminding me of this atrocity. All God's creatures, fresh off the grill, come on down to Mr. Meaty, where the friends meet to eat meat. And by meat, I'm talking human fingers. I did not grow up watching Mr. Meaty. As a matter of fact, I just recently learned about it within the past year or two. And everything I've seen about it looks absolutely disgusting, including the puppet designs. It looks like something that would be on Adult Swim, but no, this was on Nickelodeon. Also, fun fact, one of the creators of the show also created Nanoland. Now, as I just mentioned the consumption of human hands, what I was specifically referring to is the Mr. Meaty short, The Crispy Hand. Josh is flirting it up with the goth girl, my man has taste, and she orders a burger, but make it extra bloody. Josh is trying to score something, so he offers her a tour of the Mr. Meaty restaurant. As they're touring the establishment, she slips on some lard that's all over the floor, and her hand goes in the deep fryer. Her reaction? Not much. She does say
That is painful.
when she pulls her hand out of the deep fryer, it's all black and burnt, and in an attempt to convince her that this is a regular, normal, everyday Mr. Meaty occurrence, Parker sticks his hand in the deep fryer on purpose. He takes his hand out of the deep fryer, it's burnt to a crisp, and then he f***ing takes a bite out of his hand. But it worked on her, and she believes that this is just a normal thing that happens, and she takes a bite out of her own hand as well. That's the end of the short. In another infamous episode, Schnozola, Josh overhears a girl with a zit talking about how if somebody made the perfect zit cream, they would become rich and famous. So with hopes of becoming rich and famous, Josh takes this idea and makes his own zit cream. He tries it on Ashley's face, and it does get rid of the zit, but it also gets rid of her nose. They try fixing her nose and putting it back on her face, and then, and I quote from the Mr. Meaty wiki, Parker accidentally knocks it onto the grill, and then into the deep fryer, and then into a container of bacon bits. The two accidentally knock it onto the floor, where it's stolen and eaten by the restaurant's occupant rat. End quote. So, now that they don't have a nose to put back on her face anymore, the next option is meat. So then they smack a sausage on her face. No, they do not. That does not sound okay. They attach the sausage onto her face like it's her nose. Saved it. She's upset about it at first, but then Josh and Parker tell her that beauty is on the inside, and then meat nose becomes the next big trend. So everyone is just walking around wearing rotting meat on their faces. And I can't possibly move on from Mr. Meaty without at least mentioning Moochmaster P, aka the Tapeworm episode. It's the most infamous episode of the show, without a doubt, and I'm not sure if it completely counts as body horror, but it at least deserves a mention. Whenever Parker tries to eat food, it disappears in front of his very eyes. So in order to figure out what's going on, Josh records Parker trying to eat. The food disappears, and when they slow the footage down, they see that Parker has a tapeworm living inside of him who reaches out extremely fast and grabs the food before Parker can eat it. And they come to the realization that Parker got the tapeworm by eating raw meat. Then Josh fishes the tapeworm out of Parker, and it comes flying out of his mouth. They get the tapeworm in a cage, and then this Australian cowboy guy comes in, probably Steve Irwin, I don't know. And he's like, oh, I dealt with these guys before, I could take them off your hands. And then he swallows the f***ing tapeworm.
Here we go. Come on in.
That's Mr. Meaty. CatDog. Nicktoons have no mercy. In the CatDog episode, Teeth for Two, Cat has really bad looking teeth. But that doesn't make sense, because Cat actually takes pretty good care of his teeth, and Dog doesn't. So how are Dog's teeth perfect and Cat's teeth rotting inside of his mouth? Well, this is because their anatomy works vice versa. Whatever Dog does to his teeth, Cat gets the results, and it's the other way around. So because Dog hasn't been taking care of his own teeth, Cat has to suffer the consequences. And because of this, Cat tries to get Dog to take better care of his teeth, but he just won't do it. Later that night, Cat is in so much pain, he has to do something to get Dog to clean his damn teeth. So the obvious solution would be to turn himself inside out and crawl up through Dog's mouth so he can brush his teeth for him. And here we see what is basically gore of somebody's comfort character. Okay, legitimate question here. Would this classify as being gore? Yes or no? No blood, but you are seeing the flesh of a living thing. And does that count as gore in some ways? I don't know. Either way, I'm surprised that they allowed that. Actually, no, I'm not surprised at all. This is old Nicktoons we're talking about. This stuff happened like all the time. After Dog swallows Cat back to his normal form, they get in a little bit of a feud and start trying to ruin each other's teeth. And by the end of the episode, both Cat and Dog's teeth are rotting and falling out every time they speak. Some of their teeth are hanging out of their mouth by a thread. Oh my god, dude. They apologize, they go to the dentist, and they get new teeth. And that episode is that. If you can't handle teeth stuff, probably stay away from this episode.
Name a character who had it worse than Ellie. My answer to that question is Timothy from the 2012 adaptation of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You could also call him the Pulverizer or Mutagen Man. His first appearance was in the episode The Pulverizer. Now Timothy started as just a fanboy to the Turtles. His whole personality is that he idolizes the Turtles quite a bit, but because of his stupidity, the Turtles end up saving him a couple times. To the Turtles, he's pretty much considered a general nuisance, and has messed with their missions. He ends up returning in the episode The Pulverizer returns. It's discovered that Timothy was hired by the Foot Clan and now works as a spy for the Turtles. He was able to inform them that Shredder was going to start an army using the mutagen. Later on in the episode, Timothy volunteers to be experimented on in hopes of helping the Turtles out. The Turtles try to stop him but are interfered by Shredder's goons. Timothy pours the mutagen on him but realizes the dangers once he feels a burning sensation. Instead of being a kick-ass mutant like the Turtles, he ends up becoming a 6-foot living blob of mutagen and exposed organs. He loses control of himself and goes on a rampage, yet the Turtles are able to calm them down, only for Timothy to look at a reflection of himself and lose control again. Donnie comes up with the plan to trap him in a cube and freeze him. For the remainder of the series, Donnie promises himself to find a cure and restore Timothy to his human self. He did come back in the episode Mutagen Man Unleashed, where he gets new powers and tries to kidnap April, but he ends up frozen again by the end of the episode. He's made multiple cameos in the show, appearing in the background of Donnie's lab. In the episode Carmageddon, which takes place in an alternate future, we see Mutagen Man's tank at the bottom of a lake. What could this mean? Did Mutagen Man die and live the rest of his life as a mutated mess? Or did Donnie find a cure and leave his tank behind? Oh, fun fact, Timothy is voiced by Roger Craig Smith, the voice actor for Sonic and Shapesmith. Thanks to Jeejay.
Some of you mentioned Adventure Time in the comments, specifically Princess Monster Wife. Adventure Time is no stranger to horror and disturbing episodes. The deer episode, that one episode where Princess Bubblegum gets possessed by the Lich. Speaking of the Lich, little body horror honorable mention, this scene where the Lich starts growing flesh on his body after touching Guardian blood. As freaky as all that is, I want to talk about Princess Monster Wife, an exclusively body horror episode. Ice King goes around taking body parts from a bunch of different princesses. All these princesses are gathered around, missing body parts. When Princess Bubblegum turns around, she looks like this. Jake is so real for that. Finn and Jake go to Ice King to, see if something's up, because obviously he would probably be behind something like this. Lo and behold, yes he did, he made a Princess Monster Wife out of all the body parts. We see this Frankenstein-like creature made up of all these different lady body parts. Princess Monster Wife, by the end of the episode, ends up breaking herself down, and the body parts go back to their respectful owners. And although Ice King is upset about Princess Monster Wife leaving, he's even more upset about the fact that she gave away all of his stuff.
Gave away all my stuff!
This episode isn't really creepy. If anything, it's more sad for Ice King, but it is a form of body horror technically. So it deserves a spot on the list for more body horror in kids media. Woo! He said the thing again! Woo! Yeah, baby! Anything can happen in regular show, including body horror. Said it again! Woo! Halloween-themed episodes of shows were always my favorite. And I remember the promos for the Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon Halloween specials were always so hype. Like, they always tried making them look like the scariest shit ever.
Brand new spooky episodes are coming for you every Monday in October.
Smells like the undead.
Nothing can prepare you.
Stop freaking out!
No one can save you.
I want to throw in your face!
And nobody can hear you.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
And regular show had a little Halloween miniseries called Terror Tales of the Park. Episode 1 of this miniseries includes the infamous creepy doll story, Death Metal Crash Pit, and of course, In the House. In this story, Rigby f***s with a wizard and gets turned into a house. Later on, the wizard wants to get revenge on everybody, and this is where shit goes down. They're all in the house, ready to fight back and defend themselves, and Muscle Man has a gun, which would not be allowed today. Muscle Man starts shooting around, gets dragged into the woods, and then you hear gunshots off in the distance. But Muscle Man's okay, kinda. He's at the door, but when he opens it, he's been flayed.
I told you I was ripped.
Is that Gore of My Comfort character? I already made that joke earlier. Now Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network have a de-skinning moment on this list. I mean, if they're allowed to show guns, why not show off a little bit of muscle and flesh? This easily takes the cake for the most disturbing part of this whole episode. The other characters also die in weird ways, but it's nowhere near as gruesome as this. And because it has to do with the body, it could classify as body horror.
Courage the Cowardly Dog scared the hell out of me as a kid, but for some reason, I can never pull my eyes away from the screen when it was on. Specifically, an episode called The Clutching Foot. Oh, this episode starts off like any other. Eustace wakes up with an itchy foot. It's purple with like green little pimples all over it. Courage and Muriel try a bunch of different odd methods to try and cure the itchiness, but the foot continues to grow. Talking about feet is gross. Jeejay, why'd you make me do the foot episode?
It was all a part of my evil plan, Gage. Now, get back to talking about the foot!
After the foot keeps growing, Eustace refuses to go to the doctor. And then we get the worst scene by far. Eustace is then consumed by his own foot. It fully engulfs his body, and then the foot turns into this weird purple talking sentient creature where each of the toes has its own face. It's pretty gross, not gonna lie. The foot then reveals its master plan. It's not only a giant talking foot, it's a gangster giant talking foot. It wants to pull off a bank heist and is forcing Courage to kind of play along. After that plan fails, they try again to hijack a train. And again, it also fails. Never said they were a good foot gangster. While the foot tries to plan another heist, Courage goes up to the family computer and tries to figure out a cure. He does this by ripping off one of the gross green pimples and putting it into the computer as a sample. The computer tells him the only cure to help his owners is dog spit. So he begins to lick the foot. Courage then goes ham, licking all over this foot in a scene that is way too long, I think, and Eustace slowly emerges back out from the foot as his foot slowly starts to shrink back down. At the end of the episode, we get a reveal that Courage's tongue has now been infected by the same kind of fungus that Eustace had. And that's it. Honestly, it's not the worst that I've seen, but if you're not a fan of feet like me, no good. Nasty. Hopefully the next one is not as feet related.
Time to revisit a couple segments, because some of you guys mentioned I missed a few things. These are kind of just like honorable mentions. I don't want to go too deep into talking about them, but they should at least be mentioned. Cass Virgil says, we really ain't going to talk about the Force Fusions cluster gem monsters from Steven Universe in a body horror video, for real? I did mention I never really paid attention to Steven Universe past like season 1 and 2. I talked about the Cat Fingers episode in the first video, and some people in the comments brought up the episode Keeping It Together. And yeah, definitely could qualify for body horror. Thank you to everyone who recommended this to me. When you said Gumball, I was like, oh my god, is he gonna talk about what I think he's gonna talk about? But actually, no. I'm not sure which episode this is, but Alan convinces Gumball and Darwin to say yes to everything, and they end up saying yes to a scientist who injects them with expired medicine, and they just turn into these grotesque creatures. Edit. In the episode called The Saint, Gumball's tongue swells up and wraps around his head and gets covered in boils. Darwin's entire body is covered in mushrooms and he turns into a tree. There's another scene in Gumball where he changes his DNA and ends up being a pile of flesh. This is from the episode The Apprentice. You forgot the parasite from Gumball. I may have forgotten to talk about it, but I certainly did not forget about it. Gumball teleporting where he morphs into different living things. This is from the episode The Box. Looking back, Gumball had a lot of body horror moments, and maybe there will be even more body horror moments in the upcoming season. Alright, that's gonna be it. Thank you everyone for your recommendations. I hope I earned a subscription from you by the end of this video, and if not, don't come back. But if you did enjoy this video, please consider subscribing, leaving a like and a comment, and coming back for more. That all being said, hopefully I will see you in the next video, unless one of us unexpectedly dies. Thank you for watching, and be careful what zit cream you use.